The evening sun bathed the sleek glass facade of the Carter family's modern luxury home in a golden glow, its reflections shimmering like liquid light. The structure was a masterpiece of contemporary design, a testament to the family's wealth and refined taste. Yet, inside the grand house, a different atmosphere settled, a silence that felt both luxurious and isolating. 14-year-old Joy Carter stood in the entrance, her carefully chosen outfit fluttering slightly in the evening breeze. Her father, Adam Carter, a legendary biker, was away at a major event, and her mother was out of town on a business trip. Joy had been looking forward to tonight, a date with Ryan, one of the most popular boys at her school. When Ryan's luxury car pulled into the driveway, she felt a mix of excitement and nerves. Ryan stepped out looking sharp and confident. "Hey, Joy," he said smoothly. "You look amazing." Joy smiled, smoothing down her outfit. "Thanks, Ryan. You too." Ryan glanced around. "So, your parents aren't home?" Joy nodded. "Yeah, just the house staff." Something flickered in Ryan's eyes, but it disappeared before Joy could figure out what it meant. "Since the house is empty, maybe we could just stay in instead of going out," he suggested. "We could watch movies, swim in the pool." Joy hesitated. "I don't know, Ryan. I was really excited about trying that new restaurant downtown." Ryan's jaw tightened before he forced a smile. "Of course. Whatever you want." As they drove off, Joy noticed an unusual scent inside Ryan's car, a mix of something sweet and pungent. "What's that smell?" she asked, wrinkling her nose. Ryan glanced at her, his expression briefly tense. "Oh, just a new air freshener. My dad's got weird taste." Joy chuckled but couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. As they hit the highway, Ryan's driving became erratic. He weaved through traffic, accelerating recklessly. Joy's laughter turned into nervousness. "Ryan, slow down. This isn't a racetrack." Ryan only grinned. "Relax, Joy. Live a little." Before Joy could protest further, Ryan lost control. The car spun wildly before slamming into an oncoming truck. The impact was deafening, metal crunching, glass shattering. The world became a blur as the vehicle flipped, rolling multiple times before finally coming to a stop. Joy dangled upside down, her seatbelt the only thing keeping her from being ejected like Ryan, who lay motionless several feet away. Darkness closed in around her as sirens wailed in the distance. Joy awoke to the glare of hospital lights, the antiseptic smell stinging her nose. Voices buzzed around her. Urgent, professional. Female, approximately 14, involved in high-speed MVA, a voice said. Multiple contusions, possible internal injuries. She tried to speak, but her throat was dry. A nurse leaned over, smiling gently. "You're in the hospital, sweetheart. You've been in an accident. We're going to take good care of you." Joy's mind raced. "Ryan," she croaked. The nurse's expression darkened. "He's in critical condition. The doctors are doing everything they can." Joy's stomach twisted. Then came the next blow. The tests showed Ryan had been using marijuana before the accident. He was driving under the influence. The words hit like a sledgehammer. "That's impossible. Ryan doesn't do drugs." "I know this is a shock," the nurse said. "But the police will need to talk to you soon." Hours later, when the police arrived, Joy recounted the night. The officers nodded, but their expressions remained unreadable. Then the doctor overseeing her care entered, Dr. Richard Calloway. He exuded confidence, but something about him made Joy uneasy. As he began examining her, his demeanor shifted. His grip was rough, his tone sharp. "Hold still," he snapped when she winced. Then he muttered under his breath, "Always the same with your kind." Joy froze. "Excuse me." Dr. Calloway's gaze turned cold. "You heard me. You people always end up in situations like this." Joy's heart pounded. "You can't talk to me like that. I want another doctor." Calloway smirked. "Oh, you want special treatment now?" His eyes gleamed with malice as he pressed down on her arm unnecessarily hard. Just then the door burst open. A towering figure filled the doorway. Adam Carter. His presence alone commanded attention. His voice, low and dangerous, cut through the room. "What the hell did you just say to my daughter?" Dr. Calloway paled. The hospital was about to erupt into chaos. The tension in the hospital was suffocating. Adam Carter stood his ground, his towering frame making the security guards hesitate. His eyes burned with fury as he turned his glare toward Dr. Calloway. "You think you can mistreat my daughter and get away with it?" Adam's voice was dangerously low, his anger restrained but palpable. Dr. Calloway straightened his lab coat, attempting to mask his fear with a smug expression. "Mr. Carter, I suggest you leave before you make things worse for yourself." Adam took a step closer, his fists clenched. "Worse for myself. You're the one who's going to regret this. You tampered with my daughter's lab results. You spewed racist garbage at her while she lay injured. You're not a doctor, you're a disgrace." Calloway scoffed. "Baseless accusations from a man with a criminal record? That's a lie." Joy's weak voice cut through the tension, making Adam and the others turn toward her. She struggled to sit up, her face pale but determined. "He lied about my test results. He hurt me on purpose." Dr. Calloway's smirk faltered. "That's nonsense. The test results speak for themselves." Adam's lawyer, James Reeves, entered the room at that moment, his expression grave. "Actually, doctor, they don't. We have the original lab reports right here. And they say something very different." Reeves held up a USB drive. "Thanks to Nurse Nancy, we retrieved the unaltered toxicology report. And guess what? Joy Carter had no drugs in her system. But you already knew that, didn't you?" Calloway's face drained of color. "This is ridiculous. You expect me to believe a biker thug and a rogue nurse over hospital records?" Reeves smiled coldly. "That's where you're wrong. Because we aren't the only ones who have seen these files. Copies have been sent to the press. By now, reporters are already looking into this hospital's record of medical discrimination." A murmur spread through the hospital staff that had gathered. Nurses exchanged glances. Some looked furious, others nervous. Calloway turned to security. "Get these people out of here." The head of security hesitated. He had been watching everything unfold and now seemed unsure of whose side he should be on. Adam stepped closer to Calloway, his voice like thunder. "You think you can bury this? Think again." A loud rumble from outside made everyone turn toward the windows. Adam's biker brothers had arrived. Hundreds of motorcycles filled the hospital's entrance, their engines growling like a storm approaching. Bikers stood shoulder to shoulder, their leather jackets emblazoned with their club's insignia. Reporters had arrived, cameras flashing as they captured the scene. The hospital's administration was now in a full-blown crisis. "You brought a mob to intimidate me." Calloway spat. Adam chuckled, but there was no humor in it. "I brought the truth to light. And now the whole world's watching." The hospital director arrived, his face pale as he took in the scene. "Dr. Calloway," he said tightly, "please step into my office. Immediately." Calloway tried to protest, but the director's gaze was steel. He knew the weight of public pressure. He knew what was coming. Security escorted Calloway away, the doctor sputtering in protest. The tension in the room eased as the staff and security personnel backed off, no longer certain they were standing on the right side. Adam turned to Joy and took her hand gently. "It's over, baby girl." Joy smiled weakly. "Not yet, Dad. But we're getting there." And outside, as the world watched, justice was finally beginning to unfold. The morning sun barely peeked through the horizon as the air around Metro General Hospital buzzed with tension. Outside, the low rumble of motorcycles filled the streets, echoing like a storm waiting to break. Adam Carter stood in the center of the crowd, his broad frame towering over the assembled riders, each one clad in leather jackets bearing their club insignias. The protest outside had grown beyond anything the hospital administration could ignore. News crews had arrived, capturing the sea of bikers demanding justice. Social media was flooded with images and live streams, the hashtag Justice for Joy trending nationwide. Inside the hospital, Nurse Nancy moved swiftly through the corridors, her heart pounding with urgency. She clutched the USB drive in her pocket, the very evidence proving that Joy Carter's toxicology report had been tampered with. Dr. Richard Calloway had deliberately falsified records to protect his son, Ryan, and shift blame onto Joy. Now, it was only a matter of time before the truth came crashing down. Nancy entered Joy's hospital room, where the teenager lay propped up on her bed, looking weaker than she had when she first arrived. Adam had fought tooth and nail to be allowed back inside, and he now sat at her bedside. His rough, calloused hand wrapped gently around hers. "Dad!" Joy's voice was hoarse, her eyes flickering between sleep and wakefulness. "What's happening out there?" Adam squeezed her hand. "Justice, baby girl. Justice is happening." Nancy cleared her throat, drawing their attention. "We have what we need," she said, her voice urgent but steady. "The real toxicology report, and the proof that Calloway doctored your results. We just have to make sure it gets into the right hands." Adam nodded, his expression resolute. "Then we take this fight straight to the top." The confrontation. Adam, flanked by Nancy and a few other hospital staff who had begun to question Calloway's actions, stormed through the administrative wing of the hospital. The bikers outside weren't just making noise anymore. They were a symbol of the larger fight against corruption and discrimination within the medical system. The hospital board, now realizing the gravity of the situation, had called an emergency meeting, but Adam had no intention of waiting for bureaucratic games. He shoved open the doors to the boardroom, where Dr. Calloway sat alongside several executives. The smug confidence that usually lined the doctor's face had been replaced with poorly concealed panic. "This is a private meeting," one of the board members started, but Adam slammed the USB drive onto the table, silencing the room. "Not anymore," Adam growled. "That drive holds the real toxicology report. The one proving that my daughter was clean the night of the accident. The same report Dr. Calloway buried to protect his son." The room remained silent for a beat before Calloway scoffed. "This is outrageous. There's no proof that." Nancy stepped forward. "I personally accessed the hospital's database and retrieved the untouched results. You altered Joy Carter's medical records. You framed an innocent girl to save your own son's reputation." Murmurs broke out among the board members. One of them, a woman in a navy blue suit, reached for the USB drive and inserted it into her laptop. As she pulled up the files, her face paled. "These reports are identical, except for the name on them," she said, looking up in horror. Joy Carter's name was swapped with Ryan Calloway's. Another board member turned to Calloway, their voice sharp. "Is this true?" Calloway's face twitched, but he quickly masked it with feigned indignation. "This is preposterous. That report could have been fabricated by anyone. Are we really going to take the word of a biker and a nurse over a decorated physician?" Adam took a menacing step forward, his voice dangerously low. "Say one more word about my daughter and I swear." Security personnel suddenly entered the room, followed closely by uniformed police officers. The lead officer, a tall man with piercing blue eyes, surveyed the room before addressing the hospital board. "We received multiple reports of medical fraud and racial discrimination involving Dr. Calloway. After reviewing preliminary evidence, we're here to take him in for questioning." Calloway shot up from his chair. "This is ridiculous. I demand to speak to my lawyer." "You can do that at the station," the officer replied, unfazed. "Dr. Calloway, you are under arrest for falsifying medical records, obstruction of justice, and reckless endangerment." As the officers restrained him, Calloway's eyes darted around in desperation. "You don't understand. My father, he's a senator. He'll have your badges for this." Adam smirked. "Not even your daddy can save you from this one." The room was silent as Calloway was led away. The moment the doors closed behind him, a collective exhale filled the space. Adam turned to the hospital board. Now what? One of the senior members cleared their throat. We will launch an internal investigation immediately. And as of this moment, Dr. Calloway's medical license is suspended pending further review. Nancy nodded in satisfaction. That's a start. Victory in the streets. The moment Adam stepped outside, a roar of cheers erupted from the assembled bikers. News cameras zoomed in, capturing his every movement. He raised a fist into the air. "We got him," he shouted. The crowd erupted again. Reporters surged forward, microphones thrust toward Adam and Nancy. "Mr. Carter. Nurse Nancy. What's your response to Calloway's arrest?" Adam took the microphone. "This isn't just about my daughter. It's about every black patient who's ever been denied proper care because of systemic racism. It's about fighting back against a system that protects the powerful and punishes the innocent." Nancy stepped up. "Change has to happen. And it starts today." The crowd cheered, their voices ringing through the city streets. Social media exploded. News stations replayed Adam's words over and over. The movement was bigger than one doctor, bigger than one case. It was about exposing the broader corruption within the medical system. Healing and moving forward. A week later, Joy was discharged from the hospital. Though still weak, her spirit was stronger than ever. Adam guided her out of the hospital doors. The same bikers who had rallied for her justice now gathered to escort her home. As she settled into the car, Joy turned to her father. "Thank you for fighting for me, Dad." Adam smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Always, baby girl. Always." The fight wasn't over. There were still legal battles to face, medical boards to hold accountable, and policies to change. But for the first time in a long time, Adam felt hope. Hope that his daughter would grow up in a world where no one had to fight this hard for basic dignity. As the convoy of bikers rumbled down the road, Joy leaned her head against the window, watching the world pass by. The city she had known her whole life looked different now. Not just in the physical sense, but in the way she understood it. The fight for justice had left its mark, and she knew that she, too, had a part to play in making sure this never happened to anyone else. And so, as the sun set behind them, the Carter family rode forward, not just toward home, but toward a future where justice was no longer just a dream, but a promise.